Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Later we're going to talk about scholarships for kids, but first, you know her, you probably don't like her all that much, but I kind of do. Susan Greene from the Colorado Independent. We're going to mime the whole thing?
Yes,
Good.
yes.
First of all, congratulations. The ACLU of Colorado has awarded you with Most Annoying Liberal or whatever award they give you. What is the award? Say the man's name.
No, you are awful.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're awful. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Thank you, though.
What is the award?
It's in recognition of my work at the Independent, the Colorado Independent, and my work on solitary confinement and work on Clarence Moses L's story, which you know about.
I know about. So they're going to present you with an award at their annual dinner, the Colorado chapter of the ACLU, and it comes with a pretty handsome financial prize. Is that right?
I'm sure
it's like
it's
a
huge.
$25,000
Ka-ching. Yeah.
gift certificate to Arby's, something like that.
Something like that.
Well, congratulations. They haven't
Thank
given this
you.
award out in like a decade, right?
I think so, and thank you. I feel like this is an award I really love, actually. So thanks.
It's because journalists are really into being journalists. Journalists and lawyers, they'd like tell you what they do within 3 minutes of meeting them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is this our new topic?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is just an insult,
Okay.
mostly to lawyers.
Wait, did I do something like that just now?
No.
Why are you talking about that?
Let's move on.
Okay.
Congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
Talking about the Independent, which I thought we would talk about, how's it doing?
We're doing great. We are expanding our reach and doing tons of stories with, what?
I was just going to say, what I like about the Independent,
Yeah.
you're all a bunch of communists, but you're upfront about being a bunch of leftists.
You know.
And well, let me get this out. I like that. This is good. You guys have a slant. You guys report on some subjects in great detail. You do great reporting, but it lacks the sanctimoniousness of other news outlets, I don't know, Colorado Public Radio and others, that say we don't have a bias. You guys have a bias, but you still do great reporting with that.
I think we do very fair, professional, in-depth, investigative, and explanatory reporting. Would you agree?
I agree completely.
So
but would you agree that there's a bias in story selection? You guys are tuned into certain stories and certain subjects, and you expose those
Who
quite well.
doesn't have
Exactly.
a bias for story selection? You name one media outlet that doesn't.
But the difference is you guys are not ashamed of that. You guys lean into that because every news organ is like that way, but you're open about it. I like that.
Well, thank you. I wish you would also say we're really good journalists, because we are.
Well, some of you are okay. Actually, for instance, Corey Hutchins has been on fire lately. He does great political work throughout Denver. You got Litwin, so I'm not going to compliment him because
You love him.
Of course, I love him.
And
but I'm
Tina Griego, like, who does it better than Tina Griego?
I wouldn't know how to answer that question with a straight face. So, anyway, how long has it been around?
It was founded in 2006 when everyone and their mother was sort of starting these news sites because you no longer had to buy ink by the barrel.
Because photons are cheaper than paper.
Stuff like that, yeah. So it was run out of DC. I took it over in 2013. We stopped having it run out of DC, so I run it and raise the money for it. It's a nonprofit. And totally changed the ethics policy and the mission and the platform.
There's an ethics
and
policy?
the staff. There really is, actually. You want to talk to me about ethics?
You haven't. What is your ethics policy?
Our ethics policy is to be fair and thorough and not write things that we're conflicted about personally and all manner of other things that good journalists do.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? An ethics policy?
What are you saying? What are you saying?
It'd be more fun if you
I
didn't.
know, because you people at your Independence Institute are trying to become members of the Colorado Press Association, on whose board I sit. And I don't have a dog in this fight, but one piece of an ethics policy, for example, is to reveal who your donors are. if you're a nonprofit, reveal who your donors are. To not do journalism in advance of a party or a candidate. You know, the basic ethics that we practiced when we were all at big newspapers, actually, and beyond, I would say.
What's great about these papers, and they're coming up, is that they're getting much more specialized. So not only do we have this, we have, of course, Complete Colorado, which is affiliated with the Independence Institute. We now have Colorado Politics, which is affiliated with the Gazette. But beyond that, you have Chalkbeat, and you have
High Country News.
Right, High Country News, the Denverite, which I haven't even quite figured out what that is, but they do some good stuff. And it's turning into this potpourri of specialized news, all of which is free. That you don't need to pay a price to get, and you don't get the advertisements.
That's right. And people like you and me bust our butts trying to raise money to keep them going, which is super important in this media market. I mean, this landscape is decimated. The Rocky Mountain News closed. The Denver Post newsroom has been gutted. They're moving out of Denver to
Adams County.
Adams County.
It would be the Adams County's Post.
Yeah, and you know, newspapers.
But even newspapers that survive are getting benefactors. So the Gazette is owned by Phil Anschutz. You look at the Washington Post being owned by Bezos, and I forget who owns the Seattle Times now. But they're getting boosters because they're not making massive amounts of money, but they're getting huge infusions of people who want to see the paper survive.
I guess. I mean, I don't see, you know, big billionaires buying up newspapers as a really positive development. So
it's better than the paper going away.
It is in many ways. It's better than the paper going away. I just worry that people don't understand who owns this and what their agenda is and why they're doing it. And this applies not only to publications in Colorado, and not even just to publications, but Sinclair Media nationally. I mean, it applies, you know, all over the place. And, you know, then we start talking about some fake news issues, which I think in our 15-minute segment we don't have a ton of time to do.
There's no fake news. You're fake news.
Excuse me?
You're fake news.
What?
I'm just saying something. Keep going.
Wow.
Oh, you're just not tracking.
I'm not. I'm not tracking your craziness.
You're mean to me, you know that?
I know.
We have a bizarre
because when
friendship.
you have a guest on your show and you say you're fake news, that's not mean.
Does it? Do you get the same thing I get when people you're friends with Susie Greene? In my world, that's just not allowed.
I don't talk
imagine
about
that's the same
it.
thing. Go good.
No, I don't talk about it.
I embarrass you.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I'm open.
This
You're
is what I
closed.
say to them. I say, being wrong is not the same thing as being dumb.
So I'm just wrong, not dumb.
Yeah, you're not dumb.
Just wrong.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
Yeah.
Huh?
You know, you have a beautiful mind in some ways.
Beautiful
it's
twisted
just
mind.
wrong.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're right and smart.
No, because I'm not sanctimonious.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Actually, you're not. All right. What's the future for the Independent?
We are growing like crazy. We are about to launch a governor's page, a page that is really going to be about this huge race that's coming up in 2018. It's the first really wide open governor's race we've had in a long time. As journalists, we love this. You know, we love when the candidates actually talk about issues, and these people have to talk about issues because nobody is anointed to replace Governor Hickenlooper. So we're doing that. We've got some interesting investigative projects in the works.
What's the biggest obstacle? You mentioned fundraising.
Yeah.
I know it's fundraising because it's tough. You've got a news organ, and you're going up to people and say, "Give us money. This is worthwhile, and why?" What's your final close on that sale?
Because if not for us who's watching the State House, if not for us who's watching City Hall, if not for us who's watching that death penalty case over there, or that innocence case over there, or who is literally watchdogging power in the state, and on the other side, if not for us, who is helping give voice to people whose stories are not heard in the mainstream media or necessarily by those publications owned by the big billionaires?
These smaller electronic publications, Complete Colorado, and the Independent. A lot of it is not that it has a huge reach. The Denver Post still is going to go out to 400,000 people and get read twice on Sunday or whatever, but they're markers in the sand in that you write a story and it'll get read by kind of a small clique of political junkies like us. But by making that record, you've taken a politician to task, or you've proven something, and there's a file there that pops out a year later when they run for office, or when they change their opinion on something and they go 180 degrees. There's a record, and these little papers, electronic papers, serve more than a purpose than just informing.
Well, number one, you have our audience completely wrong.
Oh, really?
Your understanding of our audience is completely wrong. But, I don't look at it as putting people on the record so someone else can nail them. I look at it as doing a story, because when we do a big story, other people do it. The other media do it. The TV stations, the Post will do it. And it does have impact that way.
Depending on the story.
Yeah, depending on the story. And actually, when you say what is going on at the Independent, we're journalists, so it's like something breaks and we want to run out and cover the fire, right? Or, be at the scene. And we've really realized we're too small to do that. We can't do that. We're kind of breaking our backs doing that. So what we're really concentrating on is what we do best, the areas of coverage that we know the best, and going way deeper than anyone else.
Give me those areas.
Yeah, the environment. So climate change, fracking, water. We know water, I would say, better than anyone in this state in terms of...
We know water. I like that.
We
That'd
know
be
water.
good bumper sticker.
So politics, Corey's coverage, Mike Litwin's very astute commentary. Tina Griego covers gentrification, who's sort of being left out of growth in this state, immigration, all manner of...
Your sports page sucks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really bad sports page.
I take that as a huge compliment.
Really?
Thanks. Yeah, don't come to us for it.
Comic section, you got one good comic, that's it.
We have Pulitzer-winning cartoonist Mike Keefe, who is the best around. And I will say this, if not for us, who would be doing that in Colorado? If you look at it, Mike Keefe was at the Denver Post, Tina Griego was at the Denver Post, Mike Litwin was at the Denver Post, and I was at the Denver Post. The three of us, except Keefe, were writing columns. Keefe was doing his cartoons. The Denver Post doesn't have a cartoonist, and it doesn't have any news columnists anymore. We've gone to digital nonprofit media.
There's not a single newspaper in Colorado that has an editorial cartoonist.
I wouldn't say that. I would just say...
Daily papers. It doesn't happen anymore.
I think that's right, but there are some political cartoonists doing some stuff, but nobody is like Mike Keefe. The man is brilliant.
Thank God nobody's like Mike Keefe.
You love Mike Keefe. I actually
hate
know
Mike
you
Keefe.
love Mike Keefe.
I love him. Doesn't mean I agree with him. What is it? Somebody told me once, he's wrong, not dumb. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Stay tuned.